I have next is his own claim as to who he was. Who did he say that he was? Well, we have a very beautiful conversation that he has with, we simply call the woman at the well. We don't know what her name was. In John 4 in verses 25 and 26, the woman said, I know that the Messiah called Christ is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything to us. Then Jesus declared, what? The woman said, I know the Messiah is coming and we're waiting on him. We know the Christ is coming and he's going to explain everything. And what was Jesus' response? Then Jesus declared, I, the one speaking to you, I am he. And again, I go back to our reference earlier in our study. Either he was the Christ or he was a deceiver. He was a liar. He was a nobody. If this is not true. I, the one speaking to you, I am he. We have Matthew 16, 13 through 17. When Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, who do people say the Son of Man is? They replied, some say John the Baptist, others Elijah, some others say Jehovah, others a prophet. But what about you? He asked, who do you say I am? Simon Peter answered, you are the Messiah, the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus replied, blessed be you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. A special revelation that was given at that moment of time to Peter, and he made the declaration. Even though all others are saying that you are a prophet, that you are John the Baptist, we know who you are. We have had a revelation. We know who you are. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. If he was not Christ, then he should have corrected Peter. See what? Are you listening to me? It's almost 8 o'clock. Are you already thinking where you're going to go eat? He should have corrected Peter. Peter, that's not true. But what Peter said was true. He's the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus knew that Peter had had a special revelation as to who Christ was. God has revealed it. The Father has revealed to you who I am. Luke 23, 1 through 3, we will not take the time to go through those. You can look at those in your time. The next thing is his sinless life. I think we got one or two more. His sinless life. 1 Peter 2:22 says this, he committed no sin and no deceit was found in his mouth. What he spoke, there was no deceit found there. Now, here's what is important about this statement by Peter. Even though Jesus was born of the Virgin Mary and he was born without sin, if at any time during his 30 years, 33 years, whatever it may be, if at any time he had committed a sin, then he would disqualify himself. When he went to the cross, he had to go to the cross sinless, never having committed a sin. Born without sin and never having committed. And it's interesting. No deceit was found in his mouth. Simply means that he never spoke something that was wrong. When he spoke truth. Even in his words and all that he may have said and in his teaching, it was always the truth. So when you look at the Gospels and you listen to him speaking, you'll know that what is being said by him is truth. And when truth is spoken, you know, I like something that Ravi Zacharias often says, truth is absolute. And if it's not absolute, then it's not truth. Maybe you can't get a hold of that, but truth is absolute. And if it's not truth, then it's not. If it's not absolute, it's not truth. If it's truth, not truth. When Christ spoke, it was truth in every way that truth might need to be spoken. There was no deceit found in his mouth. Now we come to the last. And this is a beautiful one. The promise of his return. In this John chapter 14 passage, in the latter part of chapter 13, he has told his apostles that he's going to leave them. This had to be terrible news to the apostles. Even though during the 3 years he was with them, he kept referring to his death, that he was going to be persecuted and he would leave them. They just didn't get a hold of it. So when it comes time, he's on his way to the cross. Chapters 14, 15, and 16, all three of those chapters is Jesus teaching. And he's actually going from there to the Garden of Gethsemane and on to the cross. What you find in John 14, 15, and 16 is some of the last words that Jesus would teach. And when he told them that he was going to leave them, their hearts sunk. They were disappointed. They were, what's going on here? We have committed ourselves to you. We've been with you 3 years, and here you are telling us that you're going to leave us. Well, what's going on here? They were still not spiritually minded enough to understand. And so these are beautiful words of John 14 and 1 through 3. Speaking very kindly to them, don't let your heart be troubled. Now, in this the second sentence, notice this: let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. Now, this is a very important statement, because many of the religions that we may confront or may confront us, the cults and all, they will believe in God. The Muslims, they believe in God. They pray 5 times. They believe in God. These religions will believe in God. Jesus is clearly making it. It's not enough to believe in God. It's not enough to believe that God exists. He said, you believe in God. Believe also in. He was, of course, placing himself in the right perspective. It's not enough. And you see, here's the thing about the cults and the false religions, and something they don't know. They need a Savior. They do not have a Savior. The Muslims do not have a Savior. The Hindus don't have a Savior. The Buddhists don't have a Savior. And by default, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Mormons, and all of these false religions, they don't have a Savior. They've ruled Jesus out. So they don't have a Savior. You'll never get to God unless you have a Savior. You and I have a Savior. Thank God we've got a Savior, a qualified Savior. And we go to God through our Savior. You believe in God, believe also in me. And then he goes on with this beautiful promise. In my Father's house, I like the King James, in my Father's house are many mansions, and if it were not true, I would have told you. I'm going to prepare a place for you. As soon as I get it ready, I'm going to come back. I'm coming back. How many of you know Jesus is coming back? It's his promise. I am coming back. I'm going to prepare a place, and as soon as I get it ready, I'm going to come back. I am coming back. His sinless life. We're missing one verse here I wanted to give. Let me give you in Acts chapter 1. Acts chapter 1, Jesus is ascending back to the Father. It's time for him to leave. He's standing on the Mount of Ascension, the Mount of Olives, and his apostles, there's probably 120 or so that are there with him. And after giving them the last instructions, telling them, go back to Jerusalem and wait for the promise of the Father. And when he had finished, he began to go back to the Father. And a cloud received him, and they stood looking, and they were watching and watching. You can imagine how long that they looked, and as he disappeared. And suddenly 2 angels appeared there. And you know, they asked this question, why are you standing here looking? What do you mean, why are we standing here? That's our Savior. Sometimes I find these things amusing. Why are you standing there looking? But here's the promise from the angels that Jesus had given. This same Jesus that you have seen go into the heavens is going to come again, just as you've seen him go away. What a beautiful promise. Just as you have seen him go away, he's going to come back. Just go back in Jerusalem, do the work. And that would be our instructions that we would receive today. Just do your work. Do what we've got to do. God has called us to do the work. Do the work, knowing that any day he can come. Any day he will come. And what he wants to find is you and I busy doing the work that he's asked us to do. And then he will come. And he'll take us home. That's our glorious hope. Defending our faith. We've covered about 9 things here tonight. And purposely, I have chosen this subject of Christ because it is the most important. Next week, we're going to take another subject. There'll be 4 subjects. But this is vital. This is what we need to believe about Christ. And we need to be unshakable in this belief. And to be unshakable, we need to know where these verses of support can be found. You need to underline them. You need to find them. You need to read them. You need to memorize them. These are crucial to us. When you are questioned about your faith, give scriptural answers. Did everybody hear me? Give scriptural answers when you're asked about your faith. When questions are, give a Bible answer. Don't give a philosophical answer. Don't try to psychoanalyze them. Give a scriptural answer in your own good solid ground. In order to do that, you're going to have to know these scriptures. You're going to have to know where they can be found. And better off, you need to memorize them. You need to have them in your mind. As Peter said, be ready to give an answer. Ready to give an answer for the hope that you have. We have a glorious hope, a wonderful hope. We can defend our hope. We can defend our faith. We can defend it strongly. Will you stand with me?